Unfiltered with Dave Letele, and today I got the opportunity to have an amazing conversation with Dan Te Whenua Walker. Man, this guy is inspiring. Going from being a dropout to getting his master's at Stanford University.
I'm graduating with my master's in Māori and Indigenous leadership.
Wow. So Dan works at Microsoft and is all about, weaving Tikanga but also Indigenous culture into the corporate space. So he talked about his personal battle, that the whole family is going through, his child going through cancer, how he's managed to overcome that, how strong they've become because of it. And he also shares his great philosophy on reconnection that we can all benefit from. And so I was so blessed that he, agreed to come here and have this conversation and inspire not only me, but everyone else. So don't forget to like, comment, and share this conversation far and wide. Dan Te Whenua Walker, enjoy. Before we get started, Unfiltered with Dave Letele is proudly part of the Acast network and produced by the amazing team at Fanaticals. This episode is brought to you by my good friends, Trust Motors. Now, they're an amazing company that support everything we do in the community. I've known them for a long time, so if you're looking for a new car, trading in your car, whatever the case may be sure to support those who support the community. Trust Motors, how car buying should be. Man, we have been blown away by the success so far of Unfiltered with Dave Letele. The response, the comments, the stories that are being told are absolutely amazing, and we feel really privileged to be able to bring you these conversations. They are so important. So if you think they're important just like us, we need your support via Patreon. So only if you're able to pay for this, please. If you can't, I don't want you to pay for it. Every single dollar helps. Every single dollar will go towards making these stories blow up like they should be. Mainstream media aren't telling these stories yet. These are the stories to me that need to be told and held up on a pedestal to inspire the world. So that's why we're bringing Patreon. That's why we're implementing this tool as a way that we can continue to tell these stories to the best of our ability. And we feel very privileged to be able to do this. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. And let's go. Dan, welcome, my brother. Kia ora, bro.
Kia ora, brother. Good to be here, man. Good to be here with you, and just to connect with you again, brother. And
yeah.
Love hearing your stories, love connecting with good kaupapa, and that's you, man.
Last time I saw you, were we down in Christchurch or Wellington when we did that celebrity speakers thing?
Yeah, it was Wellington, actually. That's where I saw the Dave Letele, magic. And
that was the first time I met you, there.
Yeah, that was the first time I met you.
The magic, what do you mean? What did you see, the magic?
Oh, bro, you know the magic, man. The way that you can just get people rallied around a kaupapa, you can make people see the vision, and you're a master at that stuff, man. And I just want to honour that.
Oh, thank you, brother.
But also the father that you are, the family man that you are. I honour that about you too, bro.
I appreciate that, brother. You're an inspiring man, and that's why I wanted you here. That's what this platform's about, bro. Is sharing amazing stories so that others can be inspired and motivated, especially our tamariki, our rangatai, and people going through tough times.
Aye. Kia ora, bro. Thank you for the invite, man. Considering some of these other speakers who are there, this is definitely an honour.
I mean, bro. So, bro, let's just start. Where'd you grow up?
Oh, kia ora, bro. So, I come from Taranaki. That's where my mum's whānau is from. South Taranaki. We're not North Taranaki. But Nana's got connections to Kahungunu, Tūhaurangi, and my koro comes from Maniopoto and Tainui.
No wonder we get along.
Yeah, bro. Maniopoto hard. But Mum moved down to Christchurch with the Māori Trade Training Scheme, as did all of her whānau, and met my dad, who is Noel Walker, awesome Pākehā fella from Scotland and Ireland. And grew up down in Christchurch, bro. That's where I was born, and disconnected from my reo, disconnected from my marae, all of that stuff that a lot of our kids growing up in the 80s dealt with, particularly the whole half-caste vibe, not really knowing, not looking Māori, not feeling Māori, and just growing up with that, I guess, insecurity or imposter syndrome, not being Māori enough, not being brown to be Māori enough, not being white to be Pākehā enough, just always sort of not feeling like I fit in anywhere was sort of my childhood.
I mean, it's a real thing, eh? That's, I mean, I still feel it now. You're totally disconnected. Only sort of really early stages of
You, bro.
me trying to find my roots. And, you know, as you said, you know, you're talking about, you know, not being Māori enough or not being Pākehā enough. You know, for me, it's like, you know, can't speak Samoan.
Aye.
Raised by my Samoan grandparents, though.
Right.
But they thought it was a waste of time speaking Samoan to me.
Yep.
You know, it's same. Didn't know any of my Māori side. My dad went away. I went to live with my grandparents. So just really disconnected from everything.
And Mum had a lot of trauma around the whole stuff as well, where she was like, "Don't get into that
Really?
Maori stuff." Yeah. You know, she was the Māori one, but she was like, "Don't get into Maori stuff. Stay away from that. It's just gonna, you know, go down the wrong tracks for you." And so, you know, and she was well-meaning because of what she saw and what she grew up with as well. Her belief was you've just got to go down that one path, or the Pākehā path, and that was the only way to go. And she was just being protective of me as well. But it's sort of, I think those things when it comes to identity, you know, you're talking about I see you as a pillar of the community, and like for you to say that you feel disconnected as well, or you've sort of gone through that journey too, just shows how many, I think, of us go through that as well in Aotearoa.
I think particularly our generation has had a massive resurgence now.
Oh, totally, bro. Yeah.
But I think our generation...
Our kohanga kids, man, they're amazing.
You know, I'm 45, and I think our generation... especially, you know, we're especially disconnected. Yeah. And I still feel it now. Like, I don't feel comfortable going to, you know, if I know I'm going to a Māori event and I'm having to, you know, I've got all my mihis written down.
Same, bro.
And I'm like having to practice.
I've got it on my phone. I'm like on the car ride there. I'm like trying to memorize it. But then when I get up, just it all goes. Yeah. And I don't know, sometimes I can get it, but there's just many times I stress out and then my mind goes blank. And that's still, I mean, I'm 45 too. Yeah. And you're right, it's our generation, where we're kind of, we've grown up in that.
So urban Māori.
Yeah, the urban Māori, definitely. And we're sort of starting to make those connections back home to Maniapoto and Taranaki. Then there's all that journey of the whānau back home saying, "Who are you?" Man, I had that so many times, bro. 16 years on my iwi, on my iwi board.
Wow.
And for many years, there were people going, "So, who are you? You know, what is your whakapapa? How do you connect back here?" And there was a long journey of actually getting over my own stuff where before they could even trust me. As well.
What was it like, Bo, growing up in Christchurch, and, you know, explain to us the feelings you were going through, you know, with that imposter syndrome, with the, you know, not being connected. What was it like growing up then?
I think I mean, I had some things that happened when I first, so Mum and Dad broke up and went to live with Mum. And, you know, my mum's awesome. Her boyfriend, Graham, the father of my brother, Tahu. So I mihi to him. And, you know, mihi to Graham for the gift that he's given to me as well. But, you know, we went through some tough times and for me, I used to get the bash. Like, I used to get the hidings and stuff like that. And maybe I deserved it. Maybe I was a little haututu kid, but I do remember those. I remember if the lights were left on, if my cousins were staying over and they were playing up, you know, I got the hiding, and I think it was, well, I've had some feedback saying that I was quite I was just the easy target. You know, because I was like, I already had all this stuff going on. So I had low confidence. I didn't know who I was. I was anxious. and that anxiety still sits with me today. I still deal with that anxiety, like walking on eggshells. And if someone sort of comes out hard and it's got an aggressive personality, I tend to close up, because that's sort of what I was like back then as well. But those hidings ended up resulting, and I still remember it, where Mum was yelling at Graham was yelling at Mum, Dad was sort of sitting in the middle, and I remember walking outside to get away from that yelling, and then that was the start of me. I had to leave Mum and not be with Mum anymore. The thing that hit me hardest was Tahu, who, I was so close to him, he was so close to me, was just having to leave him. But I think, that was sort of the start of me going down some tough experiences in those early stages, throw in all those identity crisis issues, and it just sort of meant that those early years, while it was there was still heaps of love there from my nanas, from my dad and my stepmom and my mum as well, but it just meant that I really struggled with a lot of stuff, like school, getting a job, like all of these things were really tough for me in those early years.
Where'd that lead to, bro?
Well, I dropped out of high school with no qualifications. I don't know, is that your story too, bro? Oh no, you were smart, eh?
Yeah. I was motivated. I went right through school. My grades in sixth form were actually good enough to get me to uni. So I mucked around in seventh form, but I was very motivated. But I think I used where I was from of not having much. So I wanted to be rich.
Yeah.
To me, and like back then it was funny because being rich meant you had to go to uni.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like that's what you're driven into. You got to go to uni and do a Bachelor of Commerce to run a business, all these things.
Yeah.
And so, I was driven.
Actually, I went all the way through as well, because Michelle, I met my girlfriend, Michelle, now my wife, in primary school, then high school, and I just stayed at high school because I wanted to be close to her and make sure no other fellas were hitting on her. But yeah, that was I didn't really, get any flash UE or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was just good to be around something to do. So I stayed at school for right to the end. Yeah.
And coming out of school, what did you do?
Well, I ended up getting into trying university, and so this is sort of a thing where back then, this is 20 years ago, bro. You could, over 20 years ago, you could pull down a whole student loan, and so I got I think I got $7,000 worth of putia, and back then I had no maturity around money, man, and I purchased black silk shirts for my boys, and we rolled around Christchurch trying to look like boys to men, and we even had I bought these rip away pants as well. That I just wasted so much money on partying, on I bought a car, then crashed it, and then it was just a crazy year, bro. And then I stopped going to class because it was all foreign, and I had all the shame around. I don't even know what's going on here. I don't even want to go to my exams, and they were just talking another language.
Yeah.
So ended up there's $12,000 dropped out of uni with nothing to show for it.
That was Otago uni?
No, that was Canterbury, bro.
Canterbury uni.
Yeah. But today, this week, I'm graduating with my Masters in Māori and Indigenous leadership.
Wow.
And so it's come full circle, I often sort of...
At the same uni?
At the same uni, bro. Yeah.
Jeez.
So, a lot of shame was built into my upbringing. And this is actually the story of my life, bro, is sort of ironing out or working through processing a lot of my stuff that I thought were kind of fixed mindsets, fixed ways of being, fixed thoughts, and actually realizing that we can break through that and create our own future, create the future that we want, and it can be amazing as we want it to be.
And how did you do that, Bo? We always keep saying to our people, it's possible. One of the things we try and do also is say how. Hey, here's the blueprint.
Yeah.
So for you going through all that struggle, that you were going through at a young age, how did you overcome it all?
I feel lucky that I've got an amazing whānau, and I talked about whatever happened in those early days. I still had a lot of love from my whānau. I credit my nanas, Nana Walker, my dad's mum, and Nana Chick, for just being role models of amazing mana wahine, and just showing me the way of what hard work can do, what love can do, this korowai. Both of them, they just gave me this korowai of love that no matter who I was, it didn't matter if I was part Māori, part Pākehā, like whatever, they just loved me for who I was. And I think it's really important for me it was very important to have that. And it showed me the way in terms of in those tough years when things were going downhill quickly, to pull myself out of that and know that I can do this, and find that inner resilience, that inner strength to sort of go, right, I'm going to step up here and move forward.
Yeah, it's so important. Love. We had Ben Purua on. Make sure you go and watch his episode.
Aye, bro, I'm going to check that out.
But he talked about he realised his life was different when he stayed at his mate's house at 8 or 9 years old. His two friends, and the father came in at night and said to these two friends of his, "Love you boys, have a good sleep." And he realised he'd never heard that. He'd never heard,
"Wow,
I love you."
Yeah.
And it just triggered something in him, and he was so envious, and hurt. I think a lot of our people are walking around with this, filled with that, hurt and pain inside.
Aye.
And it's bubbling. Just that's how I was.
Same. That's how I was, man.
So talk about that, bro. What was going on? When you're talking about the struggle you were going through, and it's just my mind that's inside. What was happening?
Not feeling good enough, and not believing that I could actually achieve anything. I couldn't see a future where it was positive. I was, and that's where the whole education piece just fell down for me. I just believed that I couldn't do it, and I also believed what was on TV about us, and I couldn't pull myself away from that I was Māori. And so dealing with all of that led me to, sort of going down some bad paths, going down paths where I'm still not proud of today. And, I think the main thing that came out of that was the anxiety in me, which I still deal with. I still get anxiety even sitting here, bro. Like doing things where I sit in a big presentation with 30 people from all over the world at Microsoft, and that anxiety sort of wells up, or sitting in a board role, chair of this or director of this, and thinking, man, I'm an imposter. What am I doing here? Just knowing that the anxiety, though, is it's a part of me, and knowing that I need to give love to it, aroha to it, and not to allow it to control me.
Yeah, so true, eh? People will say to me, man, you must be so confident, and you just go on stage, and we were talking about it earlier, just go on stage and deliver, and but it's actually, it takes a lot, because it's not actually me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not really that out there person, like, but I sort of have to be.
And it allows others. It gives hope to others. It gives that inspiration to others too, bro. And I think that's that inspiration for me. Helped me to say, right, I'm going to get a job. And so back as this, I didn't have any qualifications.
You've quit uni.
And quit uni.
Yep.
Well, dropped out of uni.
Yeah.
And I just needed to get a job, man. And I remember this conversation actually my dad was having with, it was Leanne's uncle, who was a successful guy. And I overheard him saying, Dad was just really worried. And it's like, oh man, I just don't know if he's going to be anything. He's such a smart kid, but he's just not doing anything. And I remember feeling the shame and thinking, I need to sort this out and actually step up. So I got a job at Dick Smith Electronics, man.
So was that the point where you thought, I have to change? That point was...
That was one of the points. The other points was my nanas expressing, their hope that I was also going to turn into, a good boy. And they didn't even say, we want you to turn into a good boy. It was just, I could see it in their eyes. I didn't want to just make them feel like I was going to be a no-hoper. And then my Nana Walker died. And I remember on her last breath, we were all sitting around her bed, and I said, I'm going to make you proud of me, Nana. And she opened her eyes and then closed them forever. That for me, bro, was a massive moment too. And actually, I was 18. That was my sort of rise from there, of going, I guess saying, yeah, I'm going to take control of my future and my life.
Man, it's powerful, bro. Yeah, just that, I know what you mean, because that's that last, same thing, that last breath my sister took, being there. Being right there,
Yeah, bro. Yeah. And I often think now what she thinks of me, and if she's still proud of me. And, I think that's something that I'll always have to keep working towards. It's not something you achieve. You got to keep doing that every day. It's how you show up. Yeah, it's how you look after your whānau, how you look after your community. When people aren't looking, are you still someone who's tika and pono and stand up for what's something that should be proud of? It definitely drives me, bro. Both my nanas.
That's awesome, bro. So you got the job at Dick Smith's, and where, because you're so, when I'm looking at the list of things you've done and that you're on the boards of, and you're working at Microsoft, how did it all get going? So from Dick Smith's.
Yeah. Well, at Dick Smith, they had really good training programs. And one thing I found is that I love working with people. And, a lot of our whānau are good with people, I've noticed. And they know how to bring people together. They know how to, crack the jokes and sort of break down the barriers and stuff like that. And I feel like that was what I learned to just start putting in place at Dick Smith. Retail is not a high-paying job. I was on $7 an hour.
Far out.
And that's struggle street for trying to live on your own, and also show Michelle that I'm starting to sort myself out. But I realised, okay, to earn more money, I've got to start rising through the ranks and pushing. So went for a third in charge, and then assistant manager, and then store manager. And at age 20, I was a store manager.
Wow.
And then eventually worked my way up to area manager of Flexi Rent, and then came back to Dick Smith as national account manager of Dick Smith. So that was when we moved up to Auckland. So within that, I realised actually how business can be a force for good for our whānau. And you must see that too. Actually, how we can make these entrepreneurial spaces like a space of mana motuhake for our whānau. That was certainly my journey, where I remember when I first became store manager, I went out and the next day and purchased a BMW for $35,000.
As you do.
And I put it all on tick as well, a whole lot. It was such a dumb move. It was more to sort of that feeling of achievement, to say I'm not that no-hoper.
Yeah.
And really started to try and move forward and celebrate that. But it took me 8 years to pay that car off, so I don't recommend it. But yeah, that was coming into a national role with Dick Smith was a great feeling. It was a feeling of achievement, and also I did that without a degree, without any kind of education as well, but just pure hard work.
Well, and that's really the driver, right? If people are looking in saying, how did he do that, is the main bit of advice around it's just working.
Oh, definitely. Like, you have to work hard.
Yeah.
Like, there's no doubt about it. I know how hard you work. And I don't know too many people who work as hard as me. I know you do. But I'm working a lot. Michelle, I'm lucky to have an amazing wahine, Michelle, who supports me in that. But I do some big hours, and I work really, really bloody hard. But then I've noticed that will only get you so far as well.
Yep.
Where to move into the more executive roles, where you're hiring staff, where you're developing businesses and going to the next level, there's a certain level of leadership that needs to come with that. And that's more around authenticity.
Yep.
Am I being true to my values here, and showing up in a way that's true? That takes time to build as well. What I found, as a Māori man like you, I think there's a strong intention to be a good provider and make sure that we are caring well for our whānau. And that's been a big part of my identity, is being, really strong in that, and making sure that my whānau are taken care of. And we should never apologise for that too, for earning good money to take care of our whānau. But at the same time, as Māori, we need to also showcase that we can bring our values in, and we bring our community along the journey with us wherever we can.
Yeah, it's about not forgetting, not being embarrassed of earning money. So many times, I mean, even in, you've got to make money.
Yeah.
Because the more money, I think the more money I have, the more people I can help. So
That's it.
You've got to make money. Don't be ashamed, and don't be embarrassed of it. And that we should also celebrate it.
Yeah.
But then, as at the same time as well, bring in your values, or bring in your community and your whānau with you. Everything I do, I try to take our crew with us. All of our team that work for us, most of them have started from turning out to a boot camp one day.
Yeah.
And if I like to experience things with everyone, so we'll, even like our youth programs, are taking them to real nice restaurants.
Nice.
Go to nice places, because a lot of them have never been out of South Auckland. Do you know this good life belongs to all of us? See all these nice things around. You can have that too.
Yes, man.
Why can't you?
Yeah. Love it.
It's powerful.
And for me, I'm trying to also break that cycle of the deficit thinking. Where we're always thinking that we never have enough, or are in a frame of always striving for something. I want my kids to have a thinking that whatever in this world, they can go for it, they can get it. Many of my whānau back home, particularly in Taranaki, we've had to go through some hardship to get here. And that's an outcome of colonisation and outcome of all of the stuff that's happened over the last 150 years. But I'm seeing it now. There's these beautiful examples of where we're, again, creating mana motuake, and I'm seeing it in our younger ones too, where they can start seeing a future that's brighter.
Yeah, man. And how did you get into Microsoft? What's your position now at Microsoft?
So I look after Australia and New Zealand for our partners. So there's around 3,000 partners in New Zealand. There's around 12,000 in Australia. I don't look after all of them, but we look after the big ones. And we've got a broader team across Australia and New Zealand as well. And it's a big business, man.
Yeah.
It's hundreds of millions of dollars that I'm now responsible for, with these in the software technology game. And I feel very honoured to be able to do this mahi. And I look forward to sort of also seeing how we can get more of our young ones into this space as well.
When did you start there, bro? How'd you get into it?
So after Dick Smith, went to Noel Lemming. I was National Commercial Sales Manager.
I wish I knew. We've got to get some discounts.
Yeah, you've got to
TVs.
get some discounts, man. If you need, I know some of the bros. And then there was a small brand that was coming to town and taking over the radiola setup, and that was Samsung. And so I was National Sales Manager of Samsung when they first came. And that was an awesome role. It was my first international role where I got to travel to Korea and through Southeast Asia a lot, work with these global brands. When I first started there, I think we'd done like 70 phones for the whole year, the year before. And then when I started, we launched the S3, and we're doing $1 billion a year worth of phones when I left.
Far out.
So it was just the whole thing changed. The consumer electronics side of the business was around, that'd be about $1 billion as well. So it was a big business, and I had these imposter syndromes because I was like, far out. I was hiring all these people with degrees, and not being the educated guy myself, that anxiety and that little voice sort of saying you're not good enough to be here, and having to work through all that stuff is still the case today. But from there I went to Dell Technologies, and then from Dell Technologies I got into Microsoft.
The anxiety you talk about, and you've spoken about working through it. But how do you work through it? What's some things you do to
Yeah. For me, my anxiety comes on when I'm not taking care of myself. When I'm not doing my kore tinana, my exercise, when I'm not doing my sleep, when I'm not around my kids and Michelle and my wider whānau enough, not getting connection.
Yeah.
It sort of comes on a lot easier, and not just in work environments. It can come on even just when I'm at the gym. Not last week, but the week before, I had a bit of an anxiety attack in the gym, and for me, I have a process that helps me get through it, and if I can't get to the rest, I look at it in terms of the 4 salts o ngā tote for us tāne, because we don't have a refresh system like wahine that they have. We have to have a system that we go through, and for me that's the salt of sweat. So getting into a point where I can get some real sweat on, the salt of seawater. So getting into the seawater, getting in it, and acknowledging it and being in that space. The salt of tears, and releasing in that way. Us men, we struggle with that sometimes, struggle with our tears, but we need to. And then the last one is the salt of Te Iratane, semen. So we've got to release that way too, bro. But we do it with love. We do it with respect as well. I'm lucky to have a wahine to help me in that area. So those are my ways for sort of reconnecting with myself and getting me out of that space. Otherwise, it just takes over, and I just go down in that spiral. What happened for me recently is Joshy went through cancer, my boy, and he was 9 when he first got the tumour in his shoulder, 10 when we found it, and then he had 9 months of chemo to go through all of that journey. He lost his shoulder through that journey. He went through 6 surgeries, and it was really tough, man. And even when I think about those early days, it was such a struggle for us as a whānau, and me as a dad. I want to fix it. I want to be able to, just take care of my son, and I couldn't. And that was a mess. Like, the anxiety came on, and was just like this. I couldn't even. It was a massive thing that just stopped me from even being able to move. I couldn't get out of bed. That was really tough for me, man. But again, slowly but surely seeing ways through that, and using that connection, that love, that wider whānau, we've managed to find our way through that as well.
Man. We hit me that stuff, eh?
Yeah.
Just think of my son. I've got to pick him up after this, and I'll give him a big hug.
Aye, bro. Aye. Well, even, for Joshy, we had this young girl who got the same week. She got the same cancer as him, bone cancer. And I was connected with her dad, and we were messaging each other, and we're giving each other props and saying, we can do this. And we were putting updates out there about Josh, and he was like, well done, Josh. And then I was giving updates. I was sort of giving him props as well for his daughter. And then we got to the end, and I was like, oh, so how's your daughter? And it's like, oh, she passed away. She passed away 4 months ago. And, that was just, it floored me, man, because I realised how close Joshy is, because there's 3 kids in Aotearoa who are diagnosed with cancer per week, and one of them won't make it. And so Joshy, we're sitting in this room, and there's a child on that side, there's a child on that side, and we're thinking, one of these children aren't going to make it, and you're hoping like hell that it's not going to be your son or your child. And yeah, as I say, the anxiety during that time, man, I was seeing him go through chemo, seeing him go through those surgeries and stuff, bro. That was the toughest time of my life.
Oh man, how did he go, bro?
He's on the other side of his treatment, and we sort of, he's so much stronger than me, man. He's focused on the future. He's not stuck in the past. I'm stuck in the past, though. I'm the one who sort of relives my trauma a lot of these times, and it's just seeing how he has dealt with it. He's focused on, I want to do animation. I want to do digital animation. I want to do drawing, and yeah, that stuff happened, but he's moving on, and yeah, I think I get stuck in my head again and go on that spiral. That's what happened at the gym. I was just sort of thinking, what if it happens to one of my other kids? What if it comes back? All of this stuff that just makes me go crazy, man. And I need to sort of recognize that that's just a part of me that's trying to protect me, is trying to, my kazi Whetu says, hongi the taniwha, because there's this taniwha of me that is, I tend not to look at, and he kind of sneaks up on me sometimes when I'm doing the dishes or when I'm out playing with my kids, and he sort of wraps his arms around me, and my heart goes, and I start sort of struggling, and I've slowly started to realise that taniwha is me, and I need to hongi the taniwha, because that anxiety is just something that is a part of me, and the more I connect with that part of me and love that part of me, the stronger I can become.
That's going to help a lot of people, bro.
Sure,
that
bro.
message alone.
Yeah.
Hongi the taniwha.
Yeah, that's from my kazi, Whetu, the man, my tuakana, and yeah, it's that acknowledging those parts of ourselves that we try and hide away, or that we feel like we're ashamed of. Actually knowing that part of you has been created for a reason. For me, maybe that goes back to when I was 4, getting the bash, that taniwha started then.
Yeah.
And it was there to protect me, to sort of say, okay, now we need to be careful here. We need to sort of make sure we don't rock the boat here, which, serves me well as well. And it means that I'm, I think, stronger in terms of reading a room and understanding the way different personalities are and the way different people run. But there's times when it doesn't serve me as well. And generally it's when I'm sort of stepping up into a big role, or needing to step up on stage with 200, 300 people. That's when it can be unhelpful, because it's my mind starts going crazy. So if I can just be with that and allow it to sort of, so hongi is to connect our nose, right, and to exchange mauri through our breath. I think bringing that taniwha into me and embodying it is key.
Yeah, I think also, like, for me, it means like, just facing the fear, eh?
Yeah.
I always think, like, I say to our crew, don't be afraid to struggle.
Yeah.
Embrace it.
Totally.
Use it as your superpower. I say it to a lot of our kids that we work with who are going through so much struggle, man.
Aye, bro.
And you just think, I know it sucks, but I need you to use it. Use it as your superpower. No one else can compare. They're not going through what you're going through. You'll always have it over them.
Yeah.
Use it for the good.
And that's why I think, the journey that I had has given me a better heart for those people who are going through that journey as well.
Yeah.
And particularly those ones who don't feel they're good enough to step into a place like Microsoft, for instance. Actually, if I can do it, like, I'm no one special, man. If I can do it, then you definitely can do it. And you know what as well? The fact that we walk in all these different worlds and have a connection to community. Actually, these places love that.
Yeah.
They want you to bring it, and even better, they get out of the way. They're like, no, you want to do something, go for it, and that's where I've found that actually these places, like where we work business, our entrepreneurial spaces, your example of that too, bro, in terms of your business, they can be platforms to do good for your community.
Yeah.
And that's my kaupapa.
Yeah.
Is to, we've got to show them that it can be done. Then we've got to clear the barriers, and there's plenty of barriers.
Yeah.
We know in the corporate space, especially for Māori and Pacifica, there's plenty of barriers. So we need to be working, now that we're inside of those places, how do we remove those? And then the last one is we've got to create pathways. Like, we've actually got to build those pathways and bring them in, reach out and pull them in, and then we make sure it's a safe space as well, so that when they're in there, they know that, okay, this is aligned with my tikanga, my values, and it's a place where I can grow and do good mahi.
And that's your main goal there at Microsoft. I mean, I imagine when you started, there wouldn't have been many Māori men there.
I say there were 2 Māori, and out of 200,000 people.
2 Māori?
Yeah.
Far out.
And so that was enlightening for me, but it's also similar for many other places. And it's just the way tech is as well.
Did you feel pressure? Like, when you're in there to perform and then to open, like you were talking about, creating pathways and then pulling people in? Was there pressure being in that space, and did you, like, feeling obligated to do that for our people?
Yeah. Well, actually, one of the things, and Vanessa, our country manager.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so she was my final interview, and I tested her out and I said, hey, I can't start if I don't have a pōwhiri for myself and my whānau. She's like, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
And that blew me away, the fact that she was willing to go down that track. But we started with a pōwhiri at Microsoft, and what makes me proud is now we do pōwhiri all the time.
Yeah.
We do it for our new starters. We do it for our visiting dignitaries who come in from Microsoft.
Yeah.
We make sure that they have the Kiwi welcome, and that's part of that culture change, man. Like, it's not enough just to get our whānau into these spaces. We need to make sure that they feel like they can, at the values alignment as well. But there's definitely the cultural tax. I call it cultural tax, or others call it cultural load. So not only do you have to be good at your job, you also have to be good at being Māori. And we know with colonisation it's already tricky.
Yeah.
So how do we grow and build the cultural capabilities of others, so that cultural tax isn't as strong?
So did you feel like you were the go-to if there was a hui, bring in Dan?
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Big time. But that's the case for a lot of Māori as well, man. And that's why a lot of them leave, is there's not that support or that structure to give them the space. And that's the job of people like me now, is how do we make that better? How do we make sure that when, especially these young ones who are really strongly culturally connected, how do we bring them into these spaces so that they do feel that tautoko?
Well, you're doing a great job, bro, at Microsoft. I mean, we went there for that treaty workshop.
Yes,
with our mate Brevis.
Yeah,
Brevis Wolfgram.
Yeah,
Shout out to Brevis.
Shop, bro.
Yeah, who would ever thought there'd be a treaty workshops in the Microsoft head office?
Man. Yeah, definitely.
But you could see it there, like the manaki there, the welcome, the food. You know what I mean? It was,
yeah, man.
It was not what you'd expect.
Yeah, and that's where what I'm talking about in terms of how we can use these spaces as platforms, to do good for our whānau and our community. And one of the other ones is giving them a whānau. So when they come into these environments, they feel supported and connected. So one of the big things I'm proud of is we created Indigenous at Microsoft.
Yeah.
Not just me, a whole bunch of whānau, but I was the first global co-chair of it, and now we've got thousands of people in that whānau. So now when Indigenous start, and this is gonna go forever, they'll have a whānau, any of our Indigenous whānau who join, not just here in Aotearoa but around the world. They've got this rōpū who are gonna be there for them, be a safe space, be a connection point, be a learning point, and then we've got that allyship as well. And so it's not just about being the whole cultural competence. It's also good allyship How do we be good allies in these spaces? And so that's been a massive point of pride, really, with building that in Microsoft, being one of the biggest companies in the world. We can create this change at a global level.
Yeah.
And through that, I got to meet Satya Nadella, our global CEO.
Wow.
And that was a real proud moment. I got to gift them a pounamu.
Yeah.
And so I knew it connected with them, but when I was on the way to the airport, I got this email while I was standing in line, and it was from Satya to me, saying, "Thank you so much for this pounamu, Dan. Just want to thank you and all the Māori people for this pounamu. I'll honour it and cherish it." And so I've still got that email because
Wow.
it shows, again, our culture can connect. It can create connection. And I think a lot of these corporate spaces, that's what I mean. Once we get into these spaces, they love it.
Yeah.
And they cherish it as well, man.
It's like trying to, we keep saying, I keep saying to people, so it's not just good for Māori, it's good for everybody.
Yeah.
Once you, like you say, once you're in those spaces and they see it,
Yes.
they get it.
Yeah, man. And that's why I say, tech is good for Māori, but Māori is good for tech.
Yeah.
And actually how we can bring some of our values and our worldviews into these spaces can have a massive impact. And I feel really proud of what we can do in those spaces too.
Bro, you must be proud of yourself. Your parents must be proud. Do you ever stop and think, man, from a guy who dropped out of, dropped out of uni, no qualifications to be where you are now, you must be proud, man.
Oh, thank you, bro. I'm proud of my kids. I'm proud of my whānau, my wider whānau as well, because they're the ones who created me. I'm a group project man. I'm not a person in myself. I'm someone who really is the outcome of amazing people who probably wouldn't sit here in front of you or stand up on a stage. In fact, I know they wouldn't. People like Nana Chick, Te Reo Te Huia, people like Nana Walker, they were just amazing mana wahine in the background. And I feel very proud to be living their dreams and their aspirations. And hopefully I can put that in place now for my kids and broader whānau as well, in terms of my community, on how we can create that change in our people as well.
How many kids do you have?
I've got 3 kids.
3 kids.
Josh Tamakura Walker, Tyler Ruanui Walker, and Maya Te Winaka Walker. And
amazing.
They give me massive purpose, man. They're amazing, bro. They're just, and they test me, they push me, and they always, they obviously with, like, Joshy's got his stuff, Tyler's got his stuff as well. He's got dyslexia, so we're working through that, and we, as a whānau though, we've got the strength to be able to deal with a lot of the stuff now. I mean, getting through cancer, man, we feel like we can do anything now, and that, again, that's the result of a whānau, a whole community, an army of people coming in behind us and supporting us. But yeah, my kids are the light of my life, man. As they are for you, I know. It's and they're a massive motivation too, bro. They actually drive me to be a better man, to be a better dad, and to try and lay down, like, the biggest thing that I can feel in terms of achievement, sense of achievement, when you say you must feel proud, is if my kids feel proud of me.
Yeah.
If my kids feel proud of me, then I've made it, man. And again, that's not something you can achieve. Yep, job done, tick. That's something you have to work at every day in terms of how you show up, how you act with them, how you connect with them, how you, how you lead in terms of the community. So that's something that really drives me.
Yeah. Oh, bro, just last couple of questions, bro.
Yeah, bro.
What's your, what would you say to a young, a tamariki or rangatahi going through what you went through when you're not feeling they're good enough? Thinking they'd never be anything. What would you say to? What advice would you give them?
I would say know in yourself that you are the outcome of huge amount of love. If you look back through your tupuna, you look back through your wakapapa, you'll know that there's so much strength, so much resilience in who you are. It may not feel like it now. It may not feel like it for the last 50 years, 100 years, but actually that strength lives in us, and we just need to remember it. And for me, I see a lot of what I see out there, man, particularly with that rangatahi, is disconnection. And what I grew up with in terms of disconnection, that was hard enough for me. But nowadays, you've got social media saying that you could be a millionaire. You got all of these other sort of things that we have in our community as well in terms of drugs and that we didn't exactly have in the biggest way. It's definitely gotten worse, I think, and harder for our rangatahi. So know that whoever you are, you've got greatness in your genes, you've got greatness in who you are, and that disconnection is something that we all are going through in different ways. But know that there's people in your corner, and you just need to reach out.
100%, bro. There was a lady that said to me, Dave, I come from a long line of nothing. And I said, you're wrong. I said, you come from a line of greatness. Mana wahine, navigators, chiefs. You come from greatness.
Yes, bro.
And, like you said, though, you might not have seen it in recent years, but if you look back, that's where we come from. So you got to harness it. And last question, brother, I ask to every guest that's on.
Hi, bro.
You've answered it, I think. But what is your why?
Oh, my why is to be the best dad, the best father, the best husband, the best family member I can be, and showing the way. I guess showing that anyone can achieve anything if they put their minds to it, but ultimately, making sure that my kids feel proud of their dad and know that their dad worked hard for them, but worked hard for the world as well in terms of setting that example for them.
Beautiful, brother. Thanks so much for being on, bro.
Thank you, my bro. Good to see you always. And thank you for all that you do, man. And your whānau as well, and your broader BBM whānau. Much love, man. Massive.
Thank you, bro. Much love, brother. Mean.
Sure.
If you've made it this far, thank you so much for the support. It really does mean so much to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and comment on our videos, and share this out. These stories are so inspiring, and they need to be heard by everyone. Thank you so much, team.